Hello and welcome to the Beniverse. My name is Ben Friedman, and today we are talking Rocky. So, in honor of Creed 3, hope you liked my instrumentals, by the way. In honor of Creed 3, I decided let's do a retrospect on the Rocky films, give brief reviews on all of them, talk about them all that good stuff, etc. With that being said, I wanted to not just talk about Creed 3 and give my review, which I am planning on doing today. I am going to be reviewing Creed 3. I also wanted to just talk about all the Rocky films, rank the Rocky films from order from least favorite to favorite. And with that said, there's so much greatness in the Rocky franchise. I wanted to just get that right out of the way. I'm talking about Rocky, the franchise, because I love Rocky, the franchise. It's my favorite sports franchise. It's one of my favorite sports franchises of all time, along with being one of my favorite movies of all time in some of these films. I love Rocky. I think this is such an inspirational story. I think these characters are so well done. I think this is kind of just shows the talent of Stallone. So when we're talking about all that today, I want to get that clear because I'm going to be coming of a bias as someone who loves these movies, and I'm going to be singing their praises. Maybe some of my critical analysis of this movie is going to be faltering because it's hard for me to detach it with my childhood. But with that all said, let's talk about Creed 3. So give me 1 second because I'm going to do my normal intro for this. So if you all know it, you'll know what's about to happen. But anyway, hello and welcome to the Beniverse. My name is Ben Friedman, and today I am talking the film Creed 3, starring and directed by Michael B. Jordan and co-starring Jonathan Majors. So get ready to hear my review here right now. So Creed 3, as I said, is directed by Michael B. Jordan, who stars as Adonis Creed. This is the third film within the Creed series. This is the first film not to star Rocky at all. Rocky is not in this film at all. That is not a spoiler saying that, due to some of the legal disputes still going on with Stallone and the studio about the rights of Rocky. Stallone decided to opt out of this despite, from all understanding, Michael B. Jordan had him in the script, wanted him to be in this film, just wasn't able to make it work just due to Stallone's just not wanting to do this for his own personal reasons, the slight that he feels from MGM and the people who own the rights for it. So this is directed by Michael B. Jordan. This film co-stars Jonathan Majors, who is one of the most important actors working in 2023. If you don't know him, I've already sung his praises on this channel with the film Magazine Dreams, which premiered at Sundance. And of course, he was just King the Conqueror like 2 or 3 weeks ago in the MCU. And this guy's a talent. And we're going to be getting into Jonathan Majors. But also we're going to be talking about Michael B. Jordan. The returning cast of Tessa Thompson returns. You have Adonis's daughter in this film. And this is essentially following Adonis Creed at I think it's fair to say, close to the end of his career. He's had a certain amount of championships. He's had a certain amount of a resume glory. He's really built his name up. We meet him as he's about to retire. Then this buddy from his past, last name Anderson, he comes out of jail. And there's this history between Adonis and Anderson. And it's this back and forth. It's the sins of the past coming to haunt you in the present. And that's what the thematic value of this film is. And Rocky, as a franchise, can do this thing where it becomes so, what's the word to it? It can become such a vanity project. I mean, Rocky 2 through Rocky 6, four of those films are directed by Sylvester Stallone and written by Stallone. And all of them are written by Stallone. Stallone writes Rocky 1 through 6. So they can become a vanity project, and to some degree, boxing does just become about showing off the muscles and exploring male patterns and behavior and them in relationships and their struggles through the ring. It's all this, cliches of emotion in it through sports and exuberating that through sports. And that's what Rocky largely talks about. It does explore that, as well as being an exploration of class relations, and the immigrant story. And then with Creed, it does take that farther into all of those themes and race uh, and blackness. And that's what Creed 3 does really well. This is where Michael B. Jordan really succeeds as a director. Creed 3 embraces that. Creed 3 is about a blackness, a black story going on and discovering this past and the struggles that comes, and that is specifically rooted in black upbringing. And that's where this film really succeeds and does its best work, where you're exploring Creed's past, when you're exploring Anderson's past, this friendship that they had, this incident that happens that sends Anderson to jail, and this, this trying to forget it on Creed's side, but ultimately it has to come to a head, and that is what this film is. It's no spoiler to say that eventually Creed and Anderson have to fight in a Creed film, and that is where I have some struggles with the film. This film, let me just say it real quick, Michael B. Jordan, I think, is a really talented director for this being his first project. He shows a lot of really great signs as a director. One, the thematic value that he is able to capture in his direction. There's a few shots of characters staring in a mirror, literally self-reflecting on their lives, and it's pretty mesmerizing. There's an ability for Michael B. Jordan to capture the facial expressions of an actor and really just portray the weight of this situation. He's a very tender and soft-spoken director in the fact that he just allows these characters to have moments with one another. And at times the camera feels very intimate while you're watching this. It just feels like you are watching something that maybe is too private, that you shouldn't be watching. He also has the influences of the guy he's collaborated the most with in his career, Coogler. In this opening sequence that lasts about 10 minutes, you see so much of Coogler's style. We're in LA in the early 2000s. They're driving in the car. They're listening to rap. And it just feels like a Coogler movie in all the best ways. And yet also, while we get to see Coogler's influence on Michael B. Jordan, and it really does show how much dedication Michael B. Jordan has put into the craft and how much he has trust in Ryan Coogler and how, to some degree, they have become synonymous, Michael B. Jordan is also able to show his own upbringing, where Stallone is inspired by the works of the 1960s, the 1950s, the 1940s, those actors he grew up in. Michael B. Jordan is very inspired by early 2000s culture, 90s, So there's anime influence in this movie. There is very specific fight scenes in this movie that have very anime way of looking to it, which is a very large change of pace within the Creed series, but actually provided a lot of fresh air. I had heard this going into the movie, and I was a little nervous. I'm like, a Rocky movie looks a certain way to me, but while watching this movie, I didn't miss it. And that's what this film does so well, where all franchises eventually have to move on and evolve. Creed 3 does a lot to really further, this is Creed's movie now. Rocky is not here. This is Adonis's story, and Adonis's story as his own, and thus the influence of that. And that's the same with Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler, I believe, is still the story by, but it's not like he's, directing it. It's not like he's writing the story. He has story credits, but he's not the sole screenwriter for this. Stallone's not there. This is Michael B. Jordan's film now. So we're getting to see Adonis move forward and take this legacy as Michael B. Jordan does it. So we're seeing so we see these two people, one fictional in Adonis, one real in Michael B. Jordan. And they are both moving forward and continuing their own legacy separate from anybody else. And it's a really special feeling to capture. So it really does feel like Michael B. Jordan is Adonis. Adonis is Michael B. Jordan. It's so hard to disattach, just like it is with Stallone and Rocky. And it's a really special thing to witness on screen. So all of that really worked with me. Michael B. Jordan continues to have wonderful chemistry with Tessa Thompson, and the daughter in this film is so cute. Michael B. Jordan as Adonis, just their relationship is precious. It's one of my favorite aspects of it. But why this movie is such a success is Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors is maybe the most important actor working in Hollywood today. My challenge for anyone watching this who has any form of influence, which let's be honest, if you have any form of influence, you're probably not watching this channel, but if you do, cast Jonathan Majors in more films. Get this guy working. Don't get him just stuck in the MCU as Kang the Conqueror. While I'm excited to see what he does as Kang the Conqueror, this guy has it all to be the next huge movie star. In 50 years, we could look back and we could be like, this was this generation's movie star. This was this generation's Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington, Clint Eastwood, Marlon Brando, whatever you want, he can rival any of them. He is that talented and he has the goods and he brings the goods. And I want to see him in more projects like this. In Creed 3, him as Anderson is exceptional. This is a really well fleshed out antagonist. There is so much that this guy just carries in his face. Specifically the eyes. There is a pain and emotion that this guy just exuberates on screen. There's one particular moment where after Anderson wins a boxing match and he looks at Adonis, you can see the excitement that he has, hoping that Adonis would kind of replicate it. And then when you see Creed being a little apprehensive, you see that excitement in Major's eyes turn from like happiness to pain to anger, all within like a second. It's just a quick snap and it's just terrifying, but you also feel so much sympathy for this guy. You care so much about this character. And it's just the mark of a great actor that he can be this guy. He can be such a tough, egotistical guy. And yet the whole movie, you're kind of rooting for this guy because you understand this guy and you have stakes in his story. And put him up against Michael B. Jordan, you have charisma versus just intensity. And this conflict throughout is just bubbling through the surface. And it makes for this great center at the film that is just all tension. And it's so beautifully done. And it's so personal and it's so real. And it just raises the stakes so high. The stakes in this film feel life-ending, even though it is just one guy and another guy beefing. Such a common thing in sports, and yet the emotions are so there and you're so locked in with this story. So that all works on such a wonderful level. Now, where this film struggles now is its finale. What Michael B. Jordan has strengthened as a director of story, of characters, he does struggle with a final third act that doesn't fully feel satisfactory. There is this decision made within the boxing scene where it is, like all Creed and Rocky films, it's really the last 20-25 minutes of the movie. This one in particular feels very rushed, and it's very thematically heavy, to the point that it doesn't even feel like a boxing scene. Now, I will just say, there is a scene within this final boxing sequence where literally everything gets zoned out and you are with Adonis and Anderson, and you're with these two actors in the ring, and it's so personal, it's so intense, and it's probably one of my favorite directed moments within the film. I think it is so exquisite, and it ends, and then the fight itself ends, and you're kind of just left not with that satisfactory high. And it's the issue of being a Rocky/Creed film, where you know how these films are supposed to end. You know the beats that they're supposed to hit. There is a formula to these films that all the other films have accomplished that this film doesn't. And that's largely due to the story being something that can never be fully satisfactory due to what both of these two guys are going through and the fact that you have so much sympathy for both of them. So it does leave this really challenging thing where you finish the film and you want to be on the high. You want to be, every Rocky movie leaves you on the ultimate, like, king of the world champion. And this one leaves you very just grounded. It's a very on earth film, and it's just a very real film, and it's a very personal film. And there's like this moment between these two characters after the fight, and you're left kind of emotionally stunned, but you're not actually left like cheering. It's just like, oh, that's really special. That's something really cool. But it's not necessarily what we've come to expect with the Rocky and Creed franchise. And that's an issue of expectations versus good. Do I think this ending is actually pretty strong? I do. Do I think that there was some sort of emotional core that I wanted this film to hit by the end? Just some emotional cheer, just the feeling of just joy. I did, but also I don't know how you would have done it with this type of story. But it is just the challenge that this film finds itself in. Regardless of all that, I think this film is very strong, and I think it's a very interesting film to make within the Creed franchise. It makes it further detached from Rocky while also moving it forward. And it's one of these things where if this was the last one, I'd be totally fine. But if we got more, I'd totally be down. It's just, I want to spend more time with these characters, but it came to an emotionally satisfying conclusion, more as a trilogy than it did as a single film. And that's where this film has its best strengths and also struggles the most. So Creed 3. Oh, one thing I'll mention before I give my final score. There are sequences in this film where you do notice Rocky's absence, and it feels weird because the cast themselves doesn't address it. There's never even a scene where it's just like, oh, well, Rocky used to say this to me. There are moments, specifically a scene in the middle of revolving Adonis and his family, where something happens in Adonis's life, where you just felt weird that Rocky isn't there. And I wanted Rocky to be there, but also that allows Tessa Thompson to take the role of Rocky, and there's now a much deeper relationship between the two. And that really worked. Like I said, there was just that coach boxer aspect of the movie that I wanted more of, and that Rocky is so fundamental to accomplishing in these films. But overall, I can highly recommend Creed. It was a thoroughly satisfactory experience for me. It was a thoroughly satisfying experience for me. I think it's a really well done film, and I'm giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars here on the Beneverse. So anyway, that's my review of Creed 3. So let's move forward and get into my ranking of the Rocky films, and Rocky/Creed films, I should say. And there are 9 Creed/Rocky films, and we're going to start from 9 to 1. What I want to say before getting into all of these is each of these films has something interesting to take away from it. And I think it has something interesting to say about sports, about manhood, and just about filmmaking in general. And specifically what it has to say about its stars, Sylvester Stallone and Michael B. Jordan. So we're going to be focusing on this. Like I said, these aren't going to be huge critiques of this is good, this is bad. It's more of what I respect out of each of these movies and what I wanted more of from each of these movies. So let's start with number 9, which is going to be no surprise for anybody. It's Rocky V. Now, this film, which is directed by John G. Avildsen, who directed the first Rocky film, it is also written by Sylvester Stallone, returning for the 5th time behind the writer's seat. Let me just say this film gets a huge negative rap on it. I'm giving it 2 out of 5 stars myself. This film has something interesting in it, in the sense that everything that the Creed franchise has did well with Rocky is kind of established within this film. There's these scenes in Rocky V where we get to see Rocky kind of broken down, struggling with his life, brought back to the basic streets of Philadelphia. And that's something that we see in Creed with him, being back in Philly, kind of an older, more broken down, more tired Rocky, fighting cancer. And then in Creed 2, we get to see him while training Adonis tell him, Drago broke things in me that have never been able to be fixed. Those moments in Rocky 5 are interesting. There's this training element within Rocky 5 where he is training Tommy Machine Gun or something like that. And that's obviously then going to be further explored in the Creed films. So there are elements of this that are interesting. This relationship with his son, which Rocky Balboa and Creed 2 do with a lot of just, really add some emotional depth to this film. Now, where Rocky 5 does not succeed is it has one of the stupidest fights in it, which is Rocky 5 just ends with Rocky beating up Machine Gun just in the streets of Philadelphia. It's just a straight up, fight outside. It does not work in any meaningful way. It's really dumb, in fact. It's just a weird scene to see your hero just, fighting just in the middle of the street and then being the people's champs, literally, because the people of Philadelphia are cheering for him on the street. The priest is there. All the bar flies are there. It's just a not so happy way to see Rocky go out. And the original idea of Rocky 5 is that Rocky dies there in that street and that he dies the people's champ. I'm really glad they didn't do it. While it is probably makes that film slightly better and that ending a little bit better, I'm glad we still got Rocky moving forward. So I'm ultimately glad we can kind of just ignore Rocky 5. But again, the ideas of Rocky 5 are interesting. It's just the execution doesn't work out. So that's why Rocky 5 is my least favorite. Although, like I said, there are elements of it. The guy who plays Tommy is a really bad actor. Going in at number 8 is Rocky Balboa, which is written and directed by Stallone. It's a 2.5 out of 5 stars for me. It's fine. I understand why people really like this film because it's probably the most Rocky film outside of the first Rocky film up until the Creed franchise kicks in. There are, again, aspects of this to like. In this film, Adrian has not moved on. She's literally passed on. So Rocky is kind of finding / needing his way to move forward. This is him struggling with his life and him, again, becoming the champion that we all know he is. And it's this relationship that he has with his son, trying to reconnect with his semi-estranged son, and then reconnecting with just, humanity. There's this relationship between him and this mom and her son that's semi-touching. There's moments of that are good. There is this very human element of Rocky. And it's probably Stallone's, if it's not his best performance in the original 6 Rocky films, it's right behind Rocky. Stallone is actually giving a very convincing performance throughout. It's a very heartfelt and touching performance. Like I said, it is him grieving essentially in front of the audience. Something that we've never gotten to up at that point see Rocky Balboa do. Now, the whole reason this film doesn't really work for me is there's the whole exhibition match that he has where Rocky, is this 50-year-old coming out just for this exposition against a younger fighter, winning that fight, all of that all just doesn't work for me. I don't like how the fight is particularly shot. They try to do it with this HBO style delivery of it. It doesn't particularly work for me. But again, respect the efforts. Like this film, just not one that I particularly want to rewatch. So that's why Rocky Balboa is coming in at number 8. Number 7, this is going to be a little shockingly low for people. And it's just before I say it, it is a 3-star movie for me. So when I'm saying it's number 7, it's still a good movie. I'm still giving it the good movie category. It's just for whatever reason, this one doesn't work as well as some of the other ones do, which is probably blasphemy for a lot of Rocky fans, but it's Rocky 2, which is written and directed by Sylvester Stallone. Now, here's what I'll say about it. The second half of this movie is electric. When Rocky wins the championship, when he beats Apollo Creed, it's magic. I mean, that final moment where he's on camera, he's raising the belt, he says, "Yo, Adrian, I did it," as the Bill Conti score goes behind him. One of the top what, 25, maybe even top 10 movie moments of all time. Like, it's such a beautiful moment on film. And that whole fight, the Apollo Creed versus Rocky fight, is just so good and it's so special. It's just the first hour of this film. It's just not one that I particularly care about, in the sense that I never really need to go back and rewatch it. But like I said, overall, still a really good film. I like this film a lot. It's just that the other ones have aspects of it that I really enjoy much more than this. And it's Rocky 2 is fighting this thing where it is starting to feel the cheese of Rocky 3 and Rocky 4, where that cheese is really in them, but it's also kind of still has the self-serious nature with it within the, what's it called, the actual first Rocky film. So it's this counterbalance of, we still get the seriousness of Rocky, but we see where the franchise is going. So it's kind of this weird mismatch. Coming in at number 6 for me is Creed 2, which is directed by Stephen Caple Jr. and written by Sylvester Stallone. I really like this movie. This is a 3.5 out of 5-star movie for me. I think Creed 2 is really good. The best aspect of this is how visceral, raw this fight between Creed and Drago is. The emotions, the stakes of it. The Stallone and Ivan Drago aspect of this movie is also very good. This, I mentioned the line earlier, but Rocky talking about how Drago broke parts of him that has never been broken before. This Creed, this is Ivan Drago's the guy that kills his father. He's the reason, Adonis doesn't have this real relationship with his father, Apollo. And that's where the stakes of this film feel very real. There is an incredible boxing montage in this thing. There's an incredible training montage where you just see Creed absolutely broken and have to rise literally from hell back to glory. And it's a pretty powerful scene. Like I said, this is a really well done film. The ending fight is one of my favorites in the Rocky / Creed franchise. Just the emotion of it. When Creed just goes full out beast mode on it, it is just so exciting. But then you see this darkness within the fight, within how Creed is just beating the living crap out of Drago. And then you get this moment where Drago throws in the towel for his son, and it gives a really satisfactory ending to the Drago characters, as well as Rocky, getting to reunite with his son, Michael B. Jordan being on top of the mountain. It's a very just the movie leaves you on such a high note. Great movie. Really enjoy this one. Coming in at number 5 is Creed 3. I just gave my review for it, but I did want to mention a few things that I have missed. One of my favorite things that Creed 3 does that a lot of the other installments in the franchise don't do, characters return, like the background characters kind of return. The first fight in Creed 3 is the last person that Creed fights in the first Creed movie, so getting to see that, the fact that they've squared off, you see Victor Drago being buddies with Creed in this. It's just that connecting tissue. I already talked about it, where this film succeeds is best in its thematic value. Jonathan Majors, Michael B. Jordan's direction, where it lacks is its, some of its boxing sequences don't feel fully emotionally satisfactory, but is a great stepping stone into Creed becoming truly his own. And it is maybe the most personal story that Creed goes through. And it's just great to see our hero just so flawed and struggling with that, and yet overcoming adversity. It is just such a moving film. So that's why Creed 3 comes in at number 5 for me. Coming in at number 4 for me is this one might be a shock to some people. I know some people have this movie a little lower. I have this movie quite high because it has some of my favorite aspects of it, and that is Rocky 3 coming in at number 4. This is another just 3.5-star movie for me. Rocky 3 it's the ultimate cheeseball, but there are some things about this movie that I love. Hulk Hogan as Thunder Lips is just one of my favorite sequences in the Rocky franchise. I think it's so perfectly comedic. I think Thunder Lips is such a fun villain. Clubber Lang just coming in there, Mr. T, just the ultimate cheese factor of it. You get to see this friendship budding between Rocky and Apollo Creed. You get the Mickey death, which is actually very emotional. You get some real heart moments there with Stallone grieving for Mickey. You get this, like I said, this chemistry between Carl Weathers and Sylvester Stallone that really works. You get this actually really scary villain, like I said, in Mr. T, who gives a very convincing performance as Clubber Ring, kind of this Mike Tyson type stand-in. It's a really fun film. You get the Eye of the Tiger song played like 3 times in this. Just so much to really take. This is when the franchise turns full cheese for basically Chew movies. And I think it's really good. It's just the cheese doesn't hit as hard as it's about to in my number 3 film, which is Rocky 4. What can you say about Rocky 4 that hasn't been said? This is literally machismo at its best. Everything about this movie is over the top ridiculous. From the fact that it starts with this training montage recapping the other Rocky films that is played to, I believe it is Hearts on Fire, or maybe it's Burning Hearts. Maybe it's Eye of the Tiger even. I don't remember exactly what the training song is. Then you get, Ivan Drago, if he dies, killing Apollo Creed, this whole journey that he has to go on. This fight between Rocky and Drago, him going the distance, him beating, I'm going to make him bleed, well, all that great stuff. The Russian is cut. It has some of the most iconic lines within any of the Rocky films. It is just, like I said, it's Stallone at his most huge, literally, Rocky is so self-grandized in this film where he's literally a superhero going the distance with a literal machine and just beating the machine and then ending the Cold War. It's great. If I can change and you can change, then maybe we can all change. Holding up the belt, the Russians are cheering and chanting Rocky. Love this film. A lot to just take away from this. Number 2. Oh, I should say Rocky 4 is, maybe some people disagree. I don't care. It's a 4-star movie for me. Coming in at number 2, I actually really struggled with these. I think 2 and 1 are probably going to be most people's 2 and 1. I really actually struggled with the order. I was really thinking, where do I want to put as 2? What do I want to put as 1? Can I make the argument that my number 2 is actually my number 1? And I got so close until I actually rewatched one of them. It was just okay, I can't. So coming in at number 2 is Creed, which is directed by Ryan Coogler, and written by Ryan Coogler. Creed is incredible. I need to do a full 2-hour podcast on Creed because Creed is everything I want this film to be. It is both the mythology and history of Rocky. It is both a retelling of the first Rocky story, but now with Adonis Creed, but it is also getting to continue Rocky's story in just a really powerful way. Stallone is incredible in this film. This is Stallone's best performance that he's ever given in his career. There are so many scenes, just the fact that, Rocky gives up. Rocky in this film gives up. He's willing to die from cancer to be reunited with his family. And it's a really emotional, hard scene. The fact that Adonis is struggling with his legacy, always being in the shadow of his father. There's this incredible moment in Creed where he's in the ring, he's talking to Rocky. Rocky wants to throw the towel in because Creed's getting killed, and he's like, I don't want to see what happened to your father happen to you. And then Creed gives this line that's just such a truly emotional line where he's just I have to prove it to myself. I have to prove I am not a failure, that I matter. And then Rocky gives such a motivational speech where he tells him how he loves him, all of this. It's such a just pure story. And, I was listening to a podcast, The Rewatchables, talk about Creed, and there's so much just interesting in this film. The fact that, this was Sylvester Stallone's baby. This, he's involved with all the 6 films heavily. And then in this film, the only thing he does is act in it. And, he's giving this really heartfelt performance, but Ryan Coogler takes over this film and this franchise. So we're literally getting to see this relationship between director and Stallone and Ryan Coogler on screen and off screen, which is really powerful. You get of course, the retelling of Rocky and the mythos of Rocky explored in this, the People's Champion, all of that. And then on top of that, you just get Ryan Coogler just being able to bring in modern 2020, I guess in this year, it's 2015, the geo landscape of 2015, in America, just, exploring Black history, Blackness in it in such a powerful way. Everything about this movie is just so incredible. There's some of the best boxing scenes you'll ever see. In particular, there's this one shot that everyone talked about and still talks about to this day, that it's just one of the best directed scenes you'll ever see in a movie. This film is everything to me. I love this film. I think Michael B. Jordan is wonderful. I think Stallone is incredible. I think it's Ryan Coogler just on another level. This was the moment where we're just like, Ryan Coogler is really that guy in all of those ways. And like I said, there's something so interesting seeing Ryan Coogler direct this film. Ryan Coogler had just lost both of his parents. He's, I think, 27 when he starts directing this movie. So you really get to see that pain that Michael B. Jordan's character of Adonis is going through in his relationship with Rocky, with just this fear of losing Rocky. And there's this moment in the film, because, as this film was, I believe, filming or was about to film, Sylvester Stallone lost his son in real life. And there's a moment in the film where you get to see a picture of Stallone with his actual son in it as Rocky and his son. And, Michael B. Jordan has it. And the story goes is that, Stallone didn't want that picture there. And Coogler convinced him. He's like, this is going to make the scene feel really real and gutting and painful. And eventually they get it in the film. And you just break for Rocky in that moment, because you can see the pain in his eyes. And it makes for just such a raw, visceral film that is so uplifting. The Meek Mill training sequences with the dirt bikes in Philly, the training, like I said, just the fights in it, the finale of it echoing Rocky, just all of it, him going the distance, him helping, Rocky get the fight back. The scene, like I said, that I already referenced, where Rocky's talking to Adonis and he's like, you gave me a reason to fight. Like, I love you, kid. All of that. It just works to such great degrees. One of my favorite scenes in the Rocky films, and just as Stallone as an actor, and it's probably the best acting Stallone has ever done, is that moment where he's telling Adonis that he's not going to fight the cancer. If he could take everything in his life, everything good in his life, put it in a bowl or something and give it and trade it all for one more day with his wife, he would. Like, that's such a heartbreaking scene. And it's so real to see our character do that and come through adversity. And it's so powerful. It recontextualizes the sports drama and is able to pay respects to it. It's such a wonderfully done film that works in all cylinders. It is firing on all cylinders. And I love Creed. It is a 5-star movie. It is perfect to me. And the only reason it couldn't make number one is because the film Rocky exists, which ultimately I was trying to think. I'm like, because I think I watch Creed more than I've watched Rocky. But in rewatching Rocky today, I just got swept up by it. You kind of forget how just incredible the film is until you're watching it, where you're just like, everything this franchise owes, it owes to Rocky. Everything sports drama owes, it owes to Rocky. Everything. Like, Rocky revolutionized film when it came out. It's such a powerful story of a zero to hero in every way imaginable. It is the immigrant experience. It is wealth structure in America. It is the Italian-American experience. It's so much of that all wrapped up in this film that is also a love story. It is a sports drama. It's incredible. The relationship that he has with Adrian, that Rocky has with Adrian, it's just the best. Carl Weathers, you get to see the charisma of that before it's really on full load in Rocky 2 and Rocky 3. The songs, Bill Conti's Gonna Fly Now, is just one of the ultimate. The reason Rocky is so special is because it's, again, Rocky works and is most special when it's behind the talent is also going through Rocky's story. So Ryan Coogler, coming through and doing the impossible, going the distance, making something so special. Michael B. Jordan taking his life and putting it in Creed 2, Creed 3. Stallone doing the exact same. And it's, Stallone not self-financing, but insisting that he is going to write the script. He writes the script because no one's giving him movie star parts. So he writes the movie star part. He refuses to sell it for a certain number, he says, "I am going to be the star of Rocky," and it's the mythos. It's Stallone. It's everything we know about Stallone comes from Rocky, and it's such a special film, and it's honestly maybe the most important moment in film history, if not the top 5 most important decisions in film history. Is, like I said, Rocky 1 going the distance, winning Best Picture, being such the inspirations, the start of Stallone's career. And it's also just, I'd have to say, top 3 smartest ways. I don't know exactly. I'd have to think about it more hard. But if you think about it, when watching the ending of Rocky, it would have been so easy for that film to be Rocky winning the title or winning this match. And it doesn't end like that. It ends with our hero just going the distance, and that's enough. And it completely detaches it from the actual boxing match. And it's just, that scene where Stallone as Rocky is just yelling, "Adrian, Adrian," and they reunite in the ring, and it's "I love you." All that. It's such an emotional ending to the pack that when I'm watching it, I forget that they're giving Apollo the win in the background. Like, you just get so swept away by it. It's such a brilliant decision to not have Rocky win at the end of it, and it makes 2 even all the more satisfactory. And that's why, like I said, I love this film. It is a perfect film, and Rocky's a perfect 5-star film to me. So out of 9 films, 2 of them are perfect 5 stars for me. And all of these, except Rocky 5, are positive reviews. And even Rocky 5, there's a lot of good to take away from it. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the Rocky franchise. I'm sure I'm going to talk about it more on this channel, but I just wanted to share those. I wanted to share my rankings, and let me know if you agree. Would you agree on my ranking of these Rocky films? Would you switch some? I'm curious, does anyone put Creed as their number 1? I got so close to doing it. I couldn't quite get there, but it is a damn fine movie. I love a lot of these. And you know what? Bring on Creed 4. I kind of want Creed 4 just so we could have one final movie with Stallone as Rocky. My ideal dream for Creed 4 is that it is truly the cap of this franchise, and we get to close Stallone's story. We get to close Michael B. Jordan's story as Adonis in this, or maybe leave it open for the future, whatever. And that Ryan Coogler would come back, either to write and maybe Michael B. Jordan directs, something like that. But it's something where Coogler's involved, Stallone's involved, Michael B. Jordan is involved, and it can kind of all just go off. And, all 3 of these careers and legacies and all of that in this franchise that is so owed to Coogler, to Stallone, to Michael B. Jordan, that they can all kind of go off together one last time. That would be my ideal situation for Creed 4. But anyway, thank you all for watching this video. If you like more, please remember to like and subscribe. My name is Ben Friedman, here from the Beniverse. Thank you all for watching. Take care, and bye-bye. Did I miss that? And bye-bye.